I'm here every week at Hamilton City Hall. I've been coming here for over a year. I have never seen it this kind before in my entire time. Hi, welcome to my channel, Framing Hate 101. I'm your host, Captain Ben. Let's get into this. Start the music.
The LFS and Hamilton are discussing rallying in Saturday. What do you think? Hey, go for it. Go for it. I'm just telling you, though, everyone's got to, that's the thing, personal responsibility. If you're choosing, and you know the way the government, and especially if it's in Hamilton, you heard Dougie, right? So I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that or that the LFS shouldn't do that, right? If they want to go out and assume that risk themselves and take on that personal responsibility and do that, then I say go for it, right? Just know that you're also placing yourself in a position where the media and Dougie's going to want to shine a spotlight. Well, I don't know about Dougie as bad, but because if especially, you know, yellow vesters are perceived as right-wingers, right, which is so ridiculous on this whole thing. But, you know, there will be people that are going to want to target you, right? But so what? So what? You know, showing courage and conviction in the face of this onslaught of bully tactics that the media and the political class, like I say, yeah, that would at least show you you're courageous, right? At the very least, and that courage does embolden others. But once again, I would never suggest or pretend to tell anyone what to do. I don't know. I don't know what's right or what's best for anybody. I just know that I would support, you know, the yellow vest doing what if they want to get together. Just don't, you know, like I say, if you do that in a situation where you're placing others at risk, then you're giving them a narrative to use against you. But if you just decide that, you know, you cordon off your own little place, you say, hey, listen, we've agreed that we're voluntarily willing to accept the risk, every one of us around here. And if you don't want to assume that risk yourself, then stay the fuck away from us, right? But we should voluntarily, as adults, if we want to choose to gather together, and we've all said to each other, hey, even if you have the COVID, I'm willing to assume that risk, that responsibility myself. If they've agreed to that, then they should be allowed to do so. Completely. I'm 100% on board with that. That is within your right. But once again, that's just my opinion. I'm not the one that you have to worry about, right? Because I would never try to use force against you for gathering together peacefully. So there are people that will, though.
Our home and native land, true patriot love, in all our friends command. With glowing hearts we see the true north strong and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
The second thing that we hear a lot of is concern about whether we should further close public access spaces to reduce people's ability to be out in the community and potentially, of course, then be in too close a proximity. We are really trying to balance within this community, as all communities are, our need to do certain things, which include recreating and being outside and getting some fresh air, with obviously our attempts to slow the progression and certainly the spiking of COVID-19 in our community. And that is a delicate balance. And so parks and other things are open for use. I know I've received many photos of people out and saying, well, there's a lot of people on this trail or pathway, or there's 30 or 40 people in a park. And the reality is we need to ensure that we're following all these messages. Go out if you absolutely need to. If not, stay close to home. When you go out, It is about physical distancing, that 1 to 2 meters. It is about hand hygiene. It is about not touching your face. If you're sick, don't go out. And if you see people who are sick, avoid them. Those are the kinds of things that we're looking at. And certainly if you're sick and you haven't been in contact with a healthcare provider or public health, then we encourage you to use all the numbers that we've been publicizing in order to get in touch with somebody. And so the balance we're taking at the Emergency Operations Center is we're closing those things that naturally would attract people to gather together and congregate in too close a space, but also keeping some availability there in the community for people to get out.
So, according to Hamilton City Council, they are not going to further close public access spaces. Although they support the need for some degree of authoritarianism, they are claiming to be aware of the need for balance within the community. Their aim is to slow the progression of the virus of peace, while at the same time recognizing our need for recreating, being outside, and catching fresh air. That podcast that I jumped onto earlier was The Canadian Libertarian. If patriotism, freedom, and liberty are your thing, you really should go over to his channel and check him out. He does what he does, and he does it well. If there's one thing that he said in that podcast that I take as gospel, it would be this. I would never suggest or pretend to tell anyone what to do. I am 100% on board with what he said. I agree with that statement completely. One thing that I've yet to mention about the Hamilton Yellow Vests is that they're actually quite a small group. I've heard another YouTuber pin their numbers at 15, but I'd say it's more around 25. What the group lacks in numbers, they make up for with dedication. I dare say that I have seen them prove courage in the face of adversity, and this Saturday will mark 69 straight weeks of them rallying. Now, the rules of the Ontario government are straightforward and clear. Groups of no more than 4 people are allowed to assemble in public areas. Fortunately for the Hamilton Yellow Vests, they can barely field 3 people on a good day. Who's kidding who? I suppose a 4th person could show up. Maybe a 5th person arrived, you could put them across the street. Which brings me to my last segment. My advice to the Hamilton Yellow Vests. One other thing that the Canadian Libertarian pointed out that is critical if the Yellow Vest movement is to survive in Hamilton is this. If you put yourself in a situation where you are putting others at risk, then you're giving a narrative that other people can use against you. It is so important that you keep up social distancing of 6 feet from each other at all times. In fact, I would go so far as to suggest that you stand even further apart than that, especially if you wind up with numbers that you might not have otherwise been expecting. If suddenly you realize that 10 people have arrived, maybe it would be better to push that social distancing to 15 or 20 feet. People will be watching you. I highly recommend that everyone is wearing some form of mask, face covering, something like a bandana. A bandana over your mouth may not prevent you from catching the virus, but it does serve to prevent you from spreading the virus to others. Gloves are another must. If you must go to City Hall on Saturday, put them on when you arrive. If you're sick, stay home. I don't feel the need to explain that, but it does need to be said. If you have access to glasses, goggles, or a face shield, wear them. The speaker at the City Council meeting also suggested that you avoid touching your face. It's important that you do everything you can to stay safe, and even more important that you keep everyone around you safe. Again, I'm not a yellow vest, and I'm not pretending to tell anyone what to do, but I would suggest that you cut down on the length of time that you normally stay. Instead of vesting for an hour or two, maybe stay for 20 minutes to half an hour might be a better idea. The police are going to be looking for people who they deem to be lingering. If you're planting signs in the ground, that sends a message to the cops that you are looking to camp out, and they may target you. If the police do approach you, I suggest that you cooperate rather than place yourself in a position where you might end up with a hefty fine. Now, the group that I will presume to tell what to do is the counter-protest groups. If the whole premise of your organization is to reject any form of dialogue and base your movement simply on building numbers, stay the fuck home. Forming mindless mobs is an ineffective method on a good day, and your presence at City Hall would only serve to put people at risk. Well, I've said my piece, and today is the big day. It's Saturday. What do you say we don't head on over to City Hall and see what's going on?
If you don't want me to take your video, what do you do it for? I have a YouTube channel where I'm here every Saturday, okay. And I've been filming the rallies and protests that are going on today. Do you mind if I aim this at you or at your feet?
You know what? I'm good.
You're okay?
Yeah.
The only question the questions I have are really simply, can you count how many people are on the property right now at City Hall?
The whole space, not 10.
What about behind me?
Yeah. There's like
Okay.
5.
So say 7 or 8 people?
Yeah.
Okay, do you guys realize that we're all eligible for 8? Oh, sorry, miss. Do you mind? Okay, I just looking for comment. Right now, we're all facing $800 fines. What is your reaction to that?
I didn't know that we were because I'm not close to you.
Well, we are keeping social distancing, and that's great. I noticed you both have since you got here. But the reality of it is, whether we're 10 feet apart or not, we are right now in violation. This woman just made it 16 or 9, sorry. So, are you worried about getting a fine?
I could easily explain myself to authorities.
I'm sorry?
I could easily explain myself to authorities, and I'm not going to be lingering, actually.
So you're comfortable that if the police came to you, they wouldn't automatically...
Yes.
Okay, and you feel the same way? Yeah. Okay, and you guys both feel safe right now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm just trying to get a feel for the people on the street. So I appreciate your time. If you're looking to see... I beg your pardon? I feel absolutely safe. Yeah, I think that the number of people here... The only area where I'm concerned is... I'm more concerned about this gentleman... Or not this gentleman, but... I'm more concerned about police powers right now than I am catching any virus. But if you want to check out my channel, it's called Fighting Hate 101 on YouTube. Do you mind if I film you, or? Okay, were you coming out to check on us?
Yeah, just to protect you, that.
Oh yeah,
I'm here just to protect everyone.
And you see that we're all keeping social distancing,
Absolutely, yeah.
and there's no need for any kind of panic or anyone to call a police hotline.
Yeah.
Okay, you are aware at City Hall there is a hotline we can call?
Absolutely, yeah.
So realistically, there's a number I could call right now because I see more than 5 people here.
I gotta go inside to get you the number.
Oh no, I have the number. I have the number.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, obviously the I'm not accusing you of anything. The city hall is obviously blank.
Okay.
And you know I'm doing my YouTube channel. Do you remember the name of my channel?
Yeah, yeah.
What's it called?
Fighting
Fighting Hate 101. All right, God bless, sir. You're doing a great job.
So that's my video. I hope you enjoyed it. I actually did go back the next week, and I did catch up with a couple of Yellow Vests as they attended week 70 of their weekly rallies. If you want to see that video, you're going to have to hit subscribe, and I'll be releasing it tomorrow morning. I'm going to leave you now with a slice of fake news. Alexa, what are human rights?
Human rights are moral principles or norms that describe certain standards of human behavior and are regularly protected as natural and legal rights in municipal and international law. They are commonly understood as inalienable, fundamental rights to which a person is inherently entitled simply because she or he is a human being and which are inherent in all human beings, regardless of their age, ethnic origin, location, language, religion, ethnicity, or any other status.
Alexa, is assembling in public a human right?
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.